Well, obviously, this is a big week, a huge challenge for our guys. You're playing the #1 team in the country. They have the #1 offense in the SEC. They have the #1 defense in the SEC. So, not a lot of weaknesses on their roster. Um, they got guys that are probably redshirting, guys that are sitting the bench that would start for most programs around the country. They can't even see playing time. That would start at most places with the depth of talent that they have across the board. And so, you got to come out. You got to play a very, very clean game. Obviously, they're very well coached with a lot of talented players that they don't make a lot of mistakes. They execute very well at a high level. And, if you make a mistake, it'll end up being extremely costly. Just with their, the type of team that they are. So you're going to have to play a clean game and find a way to make some plays to put yourself in a position to win. So it's a great challenge for our coaches, great challenge for our players to come out there and try to get a win.
Coach, obviously this is a new experience for Nick Fitzgerald starting this season, but what areas have you seen him grow the most over the past few weeks?
Well, just the experience and of playing time and decision making, which comes with reps. Of getting that being out there, being in a position more than once. A lot of times, at the beginning of the year, it's going to be the first time he's ever been in every situation. It's the first time he's ever made that live read in a game, checking a protection for the first time in a game, getting to multiple reads, throwing hot run game reads. So, what you want to see with quarterbacks is guys not make the same mistakes over and over and over again. Is if they make a mistake, they see that mistake, they realize the mistake they've made, and they go correct themselves. And, and you're starting to see that from Nick as a guy that's starting to understand the offense, have more experience with the plays, and his playmaking, or the number of plays that he's making is increasing because of his comfort in his decision making.
I know you said Saturday night is going to be a party at the Mullen house, but how much of that Bama LSU game did you get to watch?
Oh, I watched some of it there. Wasn't surprising to me. There's two excellent football teams going at it, so. You kind of know what to expect in watching it, I guess. And so we got to watch some of it.
Coach, last Monday you referenced a lot of missed tackles against Samford. When you watch the film this week, what did you see from the defense?
A lot less missed tackles, and much more defensive. We kind of pride ourselves in playing, and I think I think it was 200 yards less in missed tackles given up between Samford and Texas A&M, and so that's a pretty big difference right there. And I think that gets into guys. I don't just making a decision. One, getting some guys back, so we didn't have to play as many reps in the course of a game on the defensive side of the ball. And two, guys just, making a decision that this is how it's going to be and take a lot of pride in how they play and the expectations and the standards within our program.
In recruiting, y'all are obviously familiar with Jalen Hurts. What was it about him that stood out to you during that process, and what have you seen from him this year?
Well, not surprised that he's being able to play right away. He's a quarterback that kind of has that it factor as a leader out there on the field. You see him growing, obviously, as a quarterback. From week to week, but the guy that can go out there and lead, can go out there and play the quarterback position as a freshman, having those the intangibles. Those are the things that stood out with him that we looked at as a guy that had great intangibles.
Last 2 weeks, the offense has put up over more than 500 yards, with Fitzgerald kind of leading the way and Williams getting some carries. Do you think the offense has kind of found its identity the last 2 weeks?
It's getting there. We're getting there. Like I said, we got. There's, when you start mentioning, when you start mentioning Fitzgerald and Eris Williams and Malik Deers and Keith Mixons, those are guys that are really getting first significant playing times of their career. So they're just growing up and. We knew we had a really young roster coming into this year, and certain injuries happening. It made us even younger. And those guys, I think, are just getting more comfortable in making plays out there on the field.
You've mentioned before your relationship with John Cohen. How do you see him taking over that athletic director position? And kind of discuss how he was utilized in the coaching search back in 2009.
I know he was. I think he was used. He was involved in the search. I don't know, in the interview process, but he just sat back. I think probably was giving everybody a different perspective, a coach's perspective instead of an administrative perspective. Would be my guess. Never really got into it all with him of how it came about. But again, I said I think Mississippi State is a great school. I love being here. To get an AD that loves the school as much as I do is fantastic. You think people can be very comfortable in knowing this is not somebody coming in that maybe has different experiences than John might have, but limited knowledge about what Mississippi State's all about. You have somebody that knows and loves this school and knows a lot of the uniqueness that is here at Mississippi State. And but even if you went through his press conference, someone that has wanted this position, for a long time. So it's not like, he's a baseball coach. Hey, do you want to be the AD? And yeah, let's give it a whirl. Let's see what it's all about. He's a guy that's been researching and preparing. Just like all of us, first day I started coaching, I wanted to be a head coach, so I started preparing notes and thoughts and things that you do if you get that opportunity, and pay attention for when you get that opportunity, and I know he's been doing that for years.
You mentioned you were a little bit more hands-off this last week with letting Brian Johnson call a lot of the plays and with Peter Sermon and things too. Is that something you foresee doing going forward, and what kind of led to you letting Brian Johnson call plays?
Well, I don't know that I'm hands-on. I'm very hands-on in the offense. But we all are. I think we just have a staff that guys have worked together and are very comfortable with each other. And, Brian always has a lot of input in what we're doing, what we're calling between series. And at different times he was just, hey, what about this? What about that? And things work inside. You just kind of, he instead, as he makes sections, just go ahead, just call, hey, or let's run it here. Okay, call it. Take a shot. Call it. And I think just our working together, and he and I have been very much on the same page in a lot. There's a lot of comfort level for me in that factor. Yeah. Well, he was in a great rhythm, So I don't want to. You don't want to mess that up at times, and a great sounding board. And, for me, and I think also he's upstairs, and I think there's a great, when I was calling plays as a coordinator and I'm upstairs in the box and there's a coach on the field, I think, there's some interaction that you feel different things at different times. When you're up in the box, sometimes you're in almost a sterile environment where you're looking at things. You're not feeling the emotion on the field as far as you're looking at it as like watching the film. Hey, let's do this. Let's do this. Let's do this. Hey, they're giving us this right now. Take it. And that they see we're on the field. A lot of times you're feeling the flow of the game and hey. I got Fred Ross saying, "Hey, get me the ball one-on-one shot. I can win right here one-on-one." You don't see that from the box. You're not there in the middle of it all. So, I think you got to have great rapport back and forth, and we're pretty fortunate that we've been together for a long time. I think all our coaches. You look offensively, guys have worked together for quite a while. I think how we function is we function very well.
Coach, last game Brian Johnson played was against Alabama, and he beat Alabama pretty soundly. What, if anything, can he draw from that to maybe help Nick Fitzgerald prepare to kind of battle not just the team, but that Alabama mystique?
I'm sure he can talk a lot of trash to Nick this week. I mean, if he wants. Hey, last time when I was playing, this is what happened. I don't know what your deal is. No, I don't know. I think, Brian, just with his experiences, as a player and as a younger coach, I think he does a great job relating to the quarterbacks in every different situation, every different scenario. And so I think that is big. I don't know, besides him being able to talk trash, I don't know how the 2008 Sugar Bowl is going to help us this year.
2 years ago, when you went to Tuscaloosa, it seemed, as you said, that the guys, it was a different game. They weren't used to that type of emotion. With a young team going on the road, playing number one, how do you get them ready for that, and how can you simulate that in practice?
Wow. Like I said, it's hard to simulate in practice because they have guys that on their bench that, nobody else even has on their roster. So you can't simulate the talent that they're putting out there on the field at practice. So, but, for us, it is very different. We have very, very young team. I want to see how they react. They can, in some ways, it's not a bad situation to be in. They kind of give it the what the heck, let's go find a way to win the game. And no one expects us to win. Let's just go find a way to win, and without the pressures or any of that stuff on them. So it'll be interesting to see how our guys respond to practice this week.
You mentioned Saturday after the game about getting out of the hair of the defensive coaches and kind of letting them do their own thing. What did you see different from those guys, and was there anything different?
No, what I was pleased with is what I saw different is our fundamentals, of didn't make a lot of mistakes. We ran to the ball, and we didn't miss tackles, and guys were where they were supposed to be when they were supposed to be there. And I think there's a lot of things that go into that. One is we have a new defensive staff of those guys getting comfortable, the players getting comfortable with them comfortable with the players. We have a lot of young guys playing, them getting more comfortable playing the game. That win against Samford certainly I thought was a big confidence boost to our team, and people might think or scratch their head. One, I thought Samford was an excellent football team. But two, I think our guys just some confidence in winning, and just being able to win, and and I think they really built off of that, and especially defensively as we won. So there was a positive feeling about winning, and then there was a little bit of negative feeling about our personal, everybody's personal performance. And I think you add those things together, it resulted in a much better performance.
How do you think Cody did in his first time punting out there in his first game? And do you have an update on Logan yet?
I'm not the Logan will be questionable for this week. We expect him back. Whether it'll be more game time decision this week or maybe back for the next game after that. He did pretty good. I think one of the things sometimes that helps is you don't have any time to think about it. Hey, go punt. If you got a whole week building up to think about it, sometimes you might get a little bit nervous, or not sleep as much the night before. But it's kind of how Logan got thrown in, right? I think we're playing Texas A&M. Or was it Auburn? No, it was A&M. Yeah, it was A&M. It was an early morning kick, and about 3 minutes before kickoff, Devin Bell said, "I can't kick." I said, "Okay, Logan, you're now the kicker. You're kicking and punting today." So he had about a grand total of 3 minutes, I think, to get unnervous, if that's the right grammatical word there. There was only 3 minutes of prep time, and I think for Cody the same thing. He's done a great job in practice. Got a little bit competitive juice to him, and then the fact that, hey, I just got thrown into action and went out there and had to do it, I think really helped. So that's it. I guess coaching advice and experience for the future. If someone's hurt, pretend they're not hurt, especially if it's like a young kicker all week, and then the guy that's got to replace him that's never stepped foot on the field before, let him know like 30 seconds, like, oh, we just, tell the other guy, like, keep him away from practice. Like, what happened? There's a family emergency, but don't worry, he'll be here Saturday or something like that. And when he comes out in, like, crutches, you just, hey, I guess you got a kick now, so don't be nervous. Just go get it done.
You've played as number one, and you've gone against number one teams. How are those games different than, say, just a normal Saturday?
I think there's just a little extra stigma to the game, when the ability to knock off number one is, it doesn't get to happen. There's only 12 times a year, or that, someone gets to have that opportunity in the regular season in a whole in a given year. So I think it is a different opportunity for guys when you're doing it. When you are number one, it's tough because I mean, you are the ultimate target in all of college football. So makes it fun, makes it challenging.
You had mentioned on Saturday that there was a potential of maybe sending out another kicker other than Weston Graves at some point. This week, first field goal attempt, if you get that chance, will Weston be the guy that goes out there? Or is that kind of up in the air?
Yeah, I mean, I don't know. We're talking about going to like some hypnotists, brag. I mean, like he and I talked about. I wish he was shanking it left and right. You know what I mean? It was something of that nature. Because then you could sit and say, okay, here's a definitive issue with what's going on. I mean, you're talking about. I mean, he's off just. I mean, he's hitting the ball well. He's striking the ball well, making good contact. It's just one of those things. So, I mean, I don't know. I'll try maybe different motivation. I mean, he's very positive about things as he and I meet and how are we fixing this and how are we getting it right. He's positive in getting himself on track and doing it. And like we said, you wish it was more of a major issue that had easy, drastic, okay, hey, boy, I mean, you're just so far off and here with your balance. I mean, he's just, 6 inches off, but the margin for error is very small in this league.
In those number one matchups, what negatives, I guess, there are for a team that tries too hard or puts too much into it? Does that ever enter the factor?
Well, I think there's it is the mental aspect on both sides. The mental aspects of the pressures of being number one, and then the mental aspect of they're number one because people voted them that way, and you got to have the right mindset that you can go win the game. I mean, if you don't expect to win the game, there's no chance you're gonna do that. And so I think you have to come to grips with the fact that you better expect to win the game on Saturday if you want to have a chance, no matter who it is you're playing. And the stigma with number one, there's a mental aspect that you deal with that.
You talked the other day about managing the sideline more. What does managing the sideline for a head coach mean?
Just making sure all the personalities, the motivation of the players, everybody's on the same page, that guys aren't too up or too down, you know what I mean, of, seeing the emotion level of our players when they need to be motivated, when, if someone, motivation in terms of confidence than anything else. I mean, our guys, they love to play, so they're going to be motivated to go play the game. It's not like, there's disinterest. But it's motivation and confidence of a guy that just made a good play. Are we, making sure that he's ready to go make the next play and believes in himself, feels great about making that play, but also ready to get back and go make the next one. Or a guy that misses a play that, you're sitting there and saying, hey, we're going to get right back to you. We're going to get you the ball. You're going to be in a situation you'll make the next play. Just all of those aspects of the game of, making sure that team is a team ready to go win.
Last year, a lot of trouble in the offensive line blocking Alabama. They lead the league again in sacks this year. What can you do to try to slow them down a little bit up front?
I don't think they're going to let us put an extra guy on the field. That would help. They could put, like, if we get to double team certain guys just on pass plays and let other guys just go out for passes. Let's still let everybody else go out for a pass. But I don't think they're going to give us that waiver this week. So, no, I think you just, what you got to do is you got to mix it up. You got to mix it up. You got to do you got to make sure you're protecting the right way, that you're getting guys help the right way, that you're picking and choosing when you're taking shots, when you're getting the ball out of your hands quick, when you're throwing screens. Just mixing and matching. And the biggest way you help is by keeping yourself out of negative situations. I think if you look on last week's game against a great pass rushing team, statistically one stat from the game that jumps out to me, in 3rd and 10 plus last week we were 0 for 7. 3rd and 9 or less we were 12 of 12. That and part of probably the 0 for 7 was the pass rushers we were facing of, hey, we're not going to we're going to limit some chances we're going to take in long down distance situations. But we were successful because we kept ourselves out of those. You know, we were successful in shorter yardage situations where their pass rush might not be as big a factor. And, you know, so what you want to do is, you know, against a team like Alabama, again, that they capitalize on your mistakes, is if you can play consistently, keep yourself in not as many long situations, you're going to have the opportunity to do some different things, whether you're going to, you know, take some shots down the field and max protect because, you know, you've kept them on edge and you get one-on-one shots, or getting the ball out of your hands quick and neutralizing the pass rush.
Speaking of the offensive line, you just kind of touched on it, but I don't think they gave up any sacks last week. You talked about that A&M pass rush. I mean, what did you see from the offensive line? How do they kind of build on that going into this week?
Well, I think it's certainly, you know, especially with how banged up we've been and having to rotate and move some guys around. But I thought that, you know, they played with some confidence last week, and hopefully playing how we played last week builds them up in the future, that they continue to play with more confidence. But I think we also, as coaches, have to make sure we're doing a good job for those guys of keeping them in the right situations. As coaches, the quarterbacks and receivers got to help with that too. You know, I thought Nick did a good job last week of getting rid of the ball. You know, I mean, you know, you love people that don't master and study the game. Is, hey, on 3rd and 12, why would you ever throw the ball less than 12 yards? Well, because they got a great pass rush, let's get it out of our hands. Maybe we're just playing some more field position. We're looking to build confidence. We're seeing if somebody could break a tackle. There's a lot of different things going on that other positions can help at. And we got to make sure we do that to continue to help those guys out when they're at a disadvantaged matchup.
Alabama allows about 66 yards per game rushing, and that's the best in the SEC. How do you go about trying to establish a run, or do you try to do something more tricky, or what do you do when you have that?
No, I mean they're pretty good. So you got to do what you do. You know, you do. I mean, you got to just kind of trust in what you do. And to be honest with you, you watch if teams that have success against Alabama, you got to pick and choose. You got to make plays. You know, you got to, when you run the ball and you got them blocked and you get a one-on-one opportunity on a safety, you make a miss and hit a big play because they're going to play a lot of man coverage. You know, you got to hit those big plays. You get one-on-one opportunities, shots down the field, you got to go take them, you know, to get them off of you a little bit. You know, because if they can lock you up on the outside and they're tackling you and they can put extra guys in the box, you're not going to run the football. And if you're not running the football at all because they have extra guys in the box and you can't win one-on-one on the outside, or when you do break one, you know, one of the big things in the game to me was we had some plays that have been 6-yard plays for us the whole season turned into 20-yard plays for us because we made the first guy miss or broke the first tackle. Those are things that get defenses to play a little bit more conservatively. And you know, if you're going to play Alabama, you got to be able to do that. When you have an opportunity to make a play, you better make it. Because you won't get many. You're not going to have tons.
Spoke with Scott Salich last week about the tight ends and how they've improved and developed and blocking. What have you seen out of that unit the last couple of weeks?
Well, they are, you know, they are very young players. You know, again, and you know, you look at the program. The guy that was our expected starter obviously had the career-ending injury for this season. So you know, you got a true sophomore, a redshirt freshman, and a first-year JC transfer playing tight end. So what you want to see is just consistent improvement from those guys, and you've seen it. You've seen, you know, I thought they, you know, they're this past week they were a big factor in some of those plays that have gone, you know, turning 10-yard plays into, you know, 20, 30-yard, 70-yard plays on the first play of the game. You know, I mean, Farrod Green on the first play of the game throws the block that springs Nick Fitzgerald for the long touchdown run. So I think you're seeing those guys, like a lot of our guys on our team, starting to play with some more confidence out there on the field.